like black and white draft. It doesn't make a lot of sense what WWE is going for. LNG, I think you do just lock this in. Now I want to see where they are going to go with their second pick. Now with no Thresh, because LNG being the ones to ban that themselves, are they going to try and match with a jungler? Again, you still have things like the Olaf, which have really been high priority in the series so far. We haven't been really seeing a lot of Zins out because of like the answers that can come out from it. But looks like LNG is going to go straight towards the Irelia for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you still got the opportunity, obviously, to throw that in towards Icon. I don't think he's played it so far, the split, but I have to double check because he's 22 bloody champions. But this would be a new one, surprisingly. So another one added to the mix if that does go towards Icon. Ale, though, definitely a champion that can fit into his wheelhouse. He's played it before in the past as well.
So if WE do decide to lock that in, that would have been interesting because that would have been a bit of a throwback for Shanks, right? We knew him as more of a control mage player. Does decide to lock it in, something more reminiscent of Spring Split coming in. So they are going to try and match range for range. And I'm just surprised how much like scaling, like wave clear, all of the stuff that we're going towards, it has not been a thing throughout regional so far.
Yeah, but I think this time you could actually lock in a Varus alongside this, right? I mean, we talked about not seeing a huge event, but the Ziggs has been left open if they want to go towards it, and is going to go for that late game scaling lyric.
It just went right over our heads, right? It's been banned in the first 2 games so far. WE now being the one to pick it up. Again, this always signals more play towards the top side. They have a ton of range to play with, which if everyone remembers in 2020 when Aphelios was being played, that was like the big argument. It's like, hey, Aphelios not exactly busted. You just need to pick these ranged champions into him to where you aren't walking into the, the 200 years worth of damage.
And this is where the mini meta comes in now. You had to ban away the Thresh. You felt like missing was too damn powerful on that. That leaves open a ban. That leaves open a pick. And it's just things like we said, you just forget about sometimes. So the Ziggs filing through, and then the Rell locked in here for LNG.
Yeah, I don't really know how I feel about this one, right? Because it works in the sense of like you have this Irelia alongside with it. You clearly want to try and close the gap and find that engage, but I feel like Rell's a lot better into like short or mid-range compositions where you can guarantee like a massive 4 or 5 man ult. That's going to be quite hard up against Azir and Ziggs.
And honestly, I would have nearly preferred to see like Tarzan go for something like the Zac, right? Zac does the same thing. You can ban away the Olaf, ban away these champions that are going to look for the invade, and see if you can try and play off of that instead. But we're going to have to see what the plan is going to be, as we're going to get the Jace banned away from Breathe in that top side.
Yeah, honestly, I think this is a good little movement here from LNG. They're not quite sure what the Viego is going. Could still go into the jungle for Beishang, not exclusively going to Breathe in the top side. And they're just basically seeing what they want to go into. And right now, WE is saying, look, we know what you're trying to do with the Rell. We know that you want to go for those big Venn diagrams of death, as we like to call them sometimes. And we're going to ban away some of those big AoE champions.
It just makes sense, right? Because that's what LNG is going to need. They're going to need a lot of AoE damage, in my opinion, to contend with what WE are putting forward. The only other thing they can try and do is pivot towards more of a composition that wants to play out through side lanes, but I feel like with the first 3 champions they brought out, it would be kind of off theme and would be a bit of a struggle. I'm still keeping my eyes on where LNG want to go with jungle, because I really feel like so far it really just has been a swap of like Viegos, Olafs, Lee Sin if it's up, which it'll never be up this series. Teams have been hesitant towards the Zindaos. Teams have been more hesitant to go early towards things like the Zacs that Dagda's pointing out, but we know Tarzan can play a bit of everything.
Yeah, my biggest concern, though, is like, obviously you can flex that Viego to the top side if you want to Breathe. You end up taking an Olaf into the jungle against it. And we already saw, I mean, if you got priority push bot and mid, that's going to be really difficult for Zac to survive against those heavy invades. So I'm kind of curious what we do see. I think jungle's the best bet. Leave that counter pick for Ale, but I'm just not exactly sure what kind of Ale he's going to bring to the table.
Yeah, the Diana is something that is still open, which does go quite well with the Irelia. Still will be a bit rough in the early game, but we got exactly what you were asking for, Dagda. The Zac coming out. So far, not the same amount of early game agency to really abuse this pick like we saw last time Tarzan played it.
Yeah, I mean, we saw JJ kind of get wiped by EDG, but that was because, of course, you had like a little bit of the Olaf. He was going to go very aggressive. We're going to get the, I was going to say the Sett still could be flex topside technically, but we'll get the answer here coming in this next pick.
Yeah, we'll see what they want to go for there. Sett most likely going to go to missing. Good way of just disengaging into the Zac jumping in or the Rell. You can just grab them with the showstopper, bring them completely away, and let Shanks and Elk get themselves away. We'll see what that final pick is going to be here for WE. And even with if this Gragas is locked in here, still a little bit of shuffling here to be done.
Yeah, I mean, right, we don't know where Viego or Gragas will be. I feel like you can really decide what is going to happen depending on your top lane matchup. Now we're going to see for LNG, I do expect the Irelia to go towards the mid lane. I also think it fits quite well with Zac, who just has so many angles where he can gank the mid lane from.
Yeah, wherever this Gragas goes, though, I love it, right? You get the counter for the engage on towards Rell. You stop this Zac from being able to come in as well, like just with the body slam. Then you add in the cask. On top of it, you have a ton of tools to try and dissuade this engage from LNG, buy space for that backline, which is all what WE are trying to do with this composition. Allow the Ziggs and the Azir to poke from afar and stop this Aphelios from being a thing.
Sylas locked and loaded. You wanted to see it last game against the Twisted Fate. This time around it will be Icon taking it into the Azir. And now we get to see where everything starts to go. Do you just take the Sett in as a counter to the Irelia? Do you now put the Gragas in the bot side to give you that bit of disengage? And with 10 seconds left on the clock, it looks like that's what we're going to get.
Yeah, and I actually like this, right? Because I think Sett has a pretty good matchup into the Irelia. A lot of damage coming out from your passive. You can like disrupt a lot of the mobility she has from her Q with like your E, bring her back closer to you, try and set up for a big showstopper.
Positions, I want to see LNG get very proactive.
I'll be honest, I actually really like the pivots and answers from both sides, right? Because you saw LNG make their way towards the Zac. They bring out the Sylas as well. So they just have a bunch of dive and all in up against the range that's coming out from the Azir and the
Ziggs.
Ziggs, there we go. Thank you, Dagda. But on the opposite side, we saw WE just completely funnel into disengage. Both Gragas and Sett being phenomenal for that, right? Being able to use an explosive cast to push people away, being able to use a showstopper to bring people like Tarzan out of the fight.
The one big thing I will notice is, yes, the Aphelios has had 2 fantastic games, both for LNG and for WE. There is very little, if not any at all, kiting for him on this team. He has to be very independent. The rest of this team, they want to go in. They want to abandon him and just kind of go for everything. He needs to be able to keep himself safe.
The good thing for him, though, right, is the fact that you have so many like members of LNG who are going to make it a living hell to deal with on the side of WE. I think it's going to be really hard for anyone, maybe bar Beishang, to even try and get on Light. And, you know, pending how late we are in the game, maybe Light can even just deal with him by himself. So I think just the fact of so many divers for LNG is going to, in itself, be a bit of appeal for Light.
And I feel actually is Icon going to get a really nice trade onto Shanks, but I feel like a lot of those engage quote-unquote tools that WE have are going to be used defensively, right? You feel like that showstopper going to be more about like dragging people away from Elk, from Shanks. Same with the Emperor's Divide, same with this cast from Missy. It's not so much about threatening Light on the back line, it's more about trying to deal with LNG.
Well, Breed's going to walk into Ale, knowing that with the level 1, just stronger, straight up, knows he can take this trade with his passive and just able to keep him away from the wave. And this is great, honestly, denial of XP here coming out from Breed. He knows that he doesn't really need to go for the 100% CS. He just needs to put Ale down. You can see just how damn powerful Sett is into this Irelia.
Yeah, Ale's still going to be able to pick up that XP, but, I mean, going to take, you know, again, heavy trading's worth of damage to be able to stay in range of it. Breed doing a nice job of stacking this wave so far. And we take a look at Beishang's path. He is making his way up towards the top side and is pretty close because he didn't go for his Krugs compared to Tarzan, who's making his way down to the bottom lane.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of going to be a bit of an issue here for Ale, because if you can set up this slow push, you can look for these dives, especially with Shanks. If you can time it off of this push in the mid lane, you can look for a TP play top when Icon is this low.
Yeah, you might even be able to look for it quite soon, right? Breathe looked like he was stacking waves up. You have push in mid. Beishang's already here, but I like it. Tarzan's trying to disrupt by ganking mid.
They did have vision on him, so Shanks should know that this is not possible. Good respect here from Shanks. Recognizes, I just saw him at his Raptors. I saw him walk down, and they know that he goes, now Tarzan will see that ward die, and will realize that he's been spotted.
Yeah, Tarzan did know something was up, though. Icon's still looking for the all-in.
He's still looking for it. Shanks might be in a little bit of trouble. Does flash away. He will get drawn back together, but while that's been happening, when you look towards the top side, they just lock Ale down. The Haymaker flash forward, first blood. Breathe will not fall, and that is a fantastic start here for WE.
And that's exactly what we were talking about, right? Ale takes that poor trade in the beginning, and then they start to punish on towards this top side, especially when you've got that Haymaker shield. You can tank so much of this tower before you go down.
I'll be honest, I really like what I've seen out from both sides so far. We see Breed start the stack of that wave up on top side to set up for that dive. Again, Beishang didn't go for his Krugs to set up for this, but even the response from LNG was quite nice, because seeing the Sylas into the Azir matchup kind of concerned me. I really, ever since the nerfs coming out, I'm going to pause. Beishang kind of hovering around, but he should be fine. Beishang maybe still going to look for a bit of a trade, but okay. Up against any... Oh, Penguin, we're going again!
We're going for more trades. You do not get a chance to make your point. That's going to be enough damage. Yes, it is. Elk will fall. Light will pick up a kill. And again, for the 3rd game in a row, we've seen Aphelios getting a kill early.
I mean, this is incredible from Light and Lwandy. The game 1, they take over the bottom lane. Game 3 now, we see them once more picking off Elk and getting these major advantages that they're going to need if they look to continue this game.
We're going to go straight into the replay up top side again. Look, it's maybe 2.5 waves stacked for them. Really nice E coming out from the Sett. I mean, gets the Haymaker, throws the flash in as well, and even nice from Beishang, I think was able to hit the Q to be able to guarantee an assist in the kill as well.
Great start here. And to and fro here we can see from both sides. WE focusing on our top side. LNG just gaining an advantage for themselves in the bot. So great little turnaround here for LNG. It was looking a little bit dire for them at the early stages. But of course now they have an opening or an opportunity in that bot side to maybe play through some dragons, get themselves rolling there.
I feel like their whole bottom half of the map, not only the bottom lane, but the fact that you're able to blow the flash on the Azir up against an all-in champion like Sylas, as well as having the Zac makes it so dangerous. But LNG are looking top.
They are looking top. The flawless duet will land. There is the bounce coming in, and that's going to be the Zac trying to get on top of him. He will have the haymaker there. Does get a shield, trying to keep himself alive, but the blade dash is enough to kick up the kill.
And I love seeing Tarzan on this pick when he's not under pressure from the opposition's jungler. He gets so active on the early stages, managing to pick up that kill on top and try and right the wrongs that happened to Ale in those early stages.
And it's one of those things, right, where because WE did get that dive off, it was like the bounce back coming towards him. The wave was stacking because Beishang was on the opposite side of the map, making his way towards it. Breathe being a little bit too far forward, maybe thinking he can outplay the 1v2, was able to get, you know, the massive haymaker shield. We're going to see here just nice from Tarzan. Ale hitting the flawless duet was key to being able to make this work. Into the elastic slingshot for the knockup. Does, again, get a massive shield out from this. Does get a bit of damage, but nice by Ale to finish it off.
And it's just a nice job from LNG as well, right? You knew that flash was burnt in the original play, so no real way for Breathe to try and get away from that. Now we'll have to see if Tarzan can try and keep up this pace, right? Lwandy's going back towards the bottom side. I'm going to be curious to see if Lwandy can now link up with Tarzan even more to just add to that CC chain.
And just as you said, with Tarzan on the Zac notoriously not great in the first few levels, but when he's given time, when he's allowed to get up those levels, get into his elastic slingshot, and give himself the opportunity to get into these lanes, he is just so potent and powerful. Shanks, yet to actually go back, didn't really get the reset going for him. As he goes in, gets the Emperor's Divide, that was stolen by Icon, used immediately, and Shanks putting a little bit of pressure despite not having his reset yet.
Yeah, but we're instantly getting more action top. Looks like it should be fine for Breathe. Tarzan not going to find the window, but Beishang might find him.
He might find him, he will find him, but he's just going to go back towards that ward. You can see it already with LNG. 2 pink wards on this top side. They're saying, look, we know where WE want to focus and we're not going to let it happen again.
I love how active Tarzan's been here, right? Because Breathe has that good matchup in top lane. Shanks has the great matchup in mid lane, but they haven't got to punish it.
They haven't been able to punish it, but speaking of punishing, we actually see Lwandy going very far forward. He will get belly bopped and the minefield down, so it's a trade of health bars between the supports, but Icon has run down towards this bot side. Will have his ultimate. No, actually will not have his ultimate, so it's just straight up stats going in. Great satchel charge to disengage, and this dive might have gone a little bit too awry. It's a 2 for 1. Can they get the damage down? The heal is there. No! It's not enough, and Missing survives!
And it's just an absolute mess coming out from the side of LNG. We've hit on so many times how hard it is to dive a Ziggs. Beishang maybe looking to punish Tarzan.
There's a Let's Bounce having to come out. Tarzan trying to keep himself alive. Has got the flash and the elastic slingshot, so sends himself overneath the dragon and keeps himself safe. But a great turnaround here for WE.
That was absolutely crucial. Managing to get that satchel charge just turned that entire thing around. And honestly, Lwandy's way too low. Because he missed the initial play, he takes a ton of damage. There's everything in the replay.
We got to go straight up towards the top side. The Vanguard and the Showstopper has been started straight away. We're going to have to crash down. We don't want to look at the replay. Show me to the live sides. Not going to be able to get it. You can see in the replay there, they did get a kill on that top side with Lwandy going in towards that top side.
Yeah, LNG doing a nice job of making this pick off. Again, Lwandy just been so active on the map so far this season. We see LNG playing both sides, though.
They're going for a flash forward. Great satchel charge there. Elk using his tools very effectively, and we're not done yet. Beishang up towards that top side. Oh, Ale took another turret shot. He has no mana. I don't think he has anywhere he can really go. They know exactly where he is. He will be taken down, struck down by this Viego, and that's going to be Beishang picking up another kill.
Ale's been having a bit of a messy one. Taking that extra terror shot meant there was no real turnaround potential, and now with that pick, WE will start a Rift Herald, Tarzan answering on the bottom side.
Nice to see LNG going for the cross map, though. I mean, LNG doing a nice job making plays on both sides. Nice response by WE, who do still have a bit of a slight gold lead. And when we look at where things are going, right, I think scaling actually like relatively good on both sides. I slightly do favor LNG from having things like the Zac, the Sylas, and the Irelia, but still, I think it is going to be interesting to see how the Dragons do change the dynamic later on.
Yeah, my biggest worry for LNG was going to be that WE like power through strong top, power through that mid lane and start to crack turrets. They get a ton of Rift Heralds, get control over the bottom side of the map thanks to like TP advantage for Breeze. But with Tarzan having so much control over the game so far, it's been really hard for WE to do that. And now you're in a position where you can look to contest as LNG.
Yeah, and I mean, for LNG, I will say the thing about like taking Dragons over Herald is with having Ziggs and Azir on the opposite side, it can be extremely hard to break open mid-tier 1 without being able to pick up those Heralds for yourself. Still, your composition will get to a point where you might even be able to dive if other members of WE are showing on side lanes. And speaking of showing on side lanes, Beishang so far just making his way up, may potentially want to try and set up another play on top side with the Herald.
It's a huge wave stacking up as well, but Tarzan is very aware of it, did put himself towards those Krugs, knowing that if they did go for the dive, he would be there to answer, and that's going to be enough to kind of dissuade WE. They don't know exactly where the Zac is. Coming in now, we can have a bit of a moment to breathe, as I say that, maybe not.
Towards mid. No setup so far. Maybe some kind of Shurima shuffle can try and lend itself to something, but doesn't look like Breathe will be able to find a window.
Not quite able to get it there, and take a moment, lads, you know, soak it all in, give yourselves a moment to breathe as we had action to action to action straight away, back to back. And this is the scrappiness we kind of expected from these two teams, being able to stat check each other, going in, limit testing themselves and their opponents right up until the very last breath. And this is why we expected this series to be so damn explosive.
Yeah, and I feel like it's one of those things where you made a really great point earlier about this decides if you go to Worlds. So you are going to come in a bit more tempered, not want to make any mistakes, but they're starting to find their groove. Let's remember WE not being to World, hasn't been to World since 2017. LNG has never been to World.
There's the flawless duet, not gonna land the face breaker, so that wave is gonna push up, and there's actually a bit of a bad spot here for Ale. That wave is pushing against him, and he's not gonna really have anyone to support him to try and reset it.
Yeah, you can see the Tarzan's down on that bottom side, but again, there's not really any place for Tarzan to try and make. He's just gonna end up picking up his camps himself, but Beishang realizing, hey look, I'm not really gonna be able to make anything happen himself, and we'll just back off.
I think LNG doing a nice job, though, because you can see them roaming Lwandy up to try to break this freeze, maybe thinking that W are trying to make something happen because they do have Breathe freezing the wave themselves. You can even see on the minimap, both Sylas and Tarzan starting to make their way up towards the top half of the map.
Oh, junglers here in the mid lane. We are going to see Icon getting spotted out here by the Viego. There is still a Rift Herald there. Doesn't quite have a lot of time on it, so we're looking to try and maybe set it up. But again, LNG doing very well with the roams.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing actually going to hold on is...
Oh, there it is. They're going to have the Shurima shovel that was stolen. They have got an explosive cast, but it's not going to be able to disengage and save anybody. Vanguard's edge is enough to keep everybody out, but shoved right back away from this entire turret. They're still pushing in onto this turret. They will pick up 2 quick kills. Breathe and Missing just cannot get anything done.
And I was about to say, it's that roaming difference, right? It's having Lwandy consistently moving around the map. Missing has been more hunkered down to the bottom side, and LNG once more find the play with the man advantage.
Yeah, and LNG now, again, taking a Scuttle Crab off this, maybe can get some wards up in the top side jungle to set up 4 more plays up there. And overall, I think, again, just nice plays coming out from LNG. 1K gold advantage now, so not as, I'd say, decisive as maybe the past 2 games have been. We're going to go straight into the replay. Again, the Emperor's Divide stolen away by Icon does get that perfect chain CC as well, with Tarzan jumping in there at the same time.
Replay fight, replay fight.
Replay fight coming in. They find Ale, who does get the trade back. So the 1-for-1, 1-for-2. Might even be able to save himself. There is a flash available here for Beishang, but it's Fancy Feet coming out here from this Irelia. The stun comes out. Flawless duet. Ale survives, and Ale has come back alive.
That was honestly so clean. Seeing that out from him, right? Flashes, does get in range, like, lets the minions get past him to buy more distance, kept his passive stacked up as well to find the winning trade.
And as you can see, Ale really does know this champion. The healing coming off the Q when he's hitting those minions, getting all that back. And honestly, that Gore Drinker was so close to coming off a cooldown. Beishang was honestly kind of lucky there.
It was so close, and Beishang now not getting that kill on top, now realizing he just has to drop the Rift Herald somewhere, otherwise you'd have a repeat of game 2 where he doesn't get any use out of it. So it's going to go towards this mid lane, but Lwandy is here with Icon. It doesn't get a charge.
And Ale is even walking that direction as well, so as long as you can get behind it here, shouldn't get that charge. There you go, and that's a big missed opportunity for WE, who had started up those dragons, which are now spawning in 30 seconds.
30 seconds till the dragon. This is where the momentum, we can feel it almost shifting towards LNG. They're being proactive. Let's have a look at the pro view here. It's actually just straight up a TP straight in, looking to get those stacks up and get that passive.
Yeah, it does go in, does hit the flawless duet right away. And I mean, things look pretty good here for the Sett to start things off. Even getting the showstopper into turret, but the gore drinker being absolutely massive in that exchange. I think he got it off on both members. Like I said here, letting the wave get past him so he can buy more time, get more healing from that as well, and almost takes it, forcing the Viego to flash.
Also, the initial burst damage, as I hold on, the burst damage was all AD, right? Double AD in the top and jungle. That W getting so much value with that reduction.
Oh, missing. Does get hooked up a little bit, but they are going to start swapping back the sides of the jungle. Dragon does go over to WE. They were on the map quicker, and they were able to get onto that objective first. So it's only 1,000 or maybe 1,500 gold lead here for LNG, but this is starting to feel a little bit shaky now here for WE.
Oh, yeah, and I think it's only going to be a bit harder. We hit on how, like, both teams have like pretty good damage going later on in the game, but I really do feel like the Zac does so much up against what W have drafted. It doesn't even matter if an Emperor's Divide or like a minefield from the Ziggs comes out. You always have a way to traverse that. As a Zac, you can even help the Rell get the stun onto Zac to lock numerous members down, then all the bursts from the other 3 members following up.
Ale?
Oh?
That connected but breathe.
Don't think it did.
No.
Yeah, just got himself into the brush right in time, but Beishang now roaming up, and Ale, you're a little bit far forward. Yes, you're very powerful. Oh, as I say that, we're going to see Tarzan jumping in with the elastic slingshot, brings him back with the Let's Kiss, and he's dead. Done. Dusted. Let's bounce as well to try and bring them all back. The showstopper brings Ale underneath a tower, but he's just too tanky. He's got too much sustain. There's the Mega Inferno Bomb, not quite able to take down Icon, and LNG pick themselves up one to get themselves out scot-free.
Yeah, sadly, Ziggs just not having enough damage at this point in time. Elkin Missing did start to roam up, but it was just a bit too late. Great find by Tarzan and Icon to get that pick in the mid lane, but Dagda, I don't think we're done.
No, we're not quite done just yet. As we're going to see now, there's the Magnet Storm coming down. You can see the Let's Bound, but another great Satchel Charge keeps Elk alive. TP from the base, going to be Breathe joining this fight. Finally, Ale does fall, and they get the resets now with the Viego. There's the Haymaker to try and put this in, but look at Light. He's just peppering down these health bars. It's such a scrappy fight. Tarzan is still alive and still hunting for more on the side.
He's going to back away, though. WE have managed to kind of dissuade LNG for continuing up on this engaged. Light, though, with this Inferno could do work, but that was so close to going astray for WE.
Yeah, so close. They are going to at least be able to turn this into some pressure on the Rift Herald, but Tarzan's already making his way back over. You don't have a Moonlight Vigil on Light, and you are missing some key abilities coming out on their sides. I think WE may be in a decent position for this fight.
They have a flash for the crash down, but there is no Magnet Storm here for Lwandy, and he's not very tanky without that Aftershock. We can see now the Rift Herald going down very low, secured by Light, and now look for the fight afterwards. There is the stolen Shurima Shuffle. Shanks goes down. He doesn't even get one of his own. Beishang off to the side, but Light flashes over to him and says, "You are going nowhere, buddy." LNG just blowing this game out of proportion.
LNG have been doing such a good job, and you can see the difference here, right? Shanks not on that global impacting champion, and suddenly LNG are playing the map better. That early game with the roaming support and that mix-up with Tarzan doing so much work for them.
I also got to say, Dagda, you've always been a stan of Lwandy, and I've kind of always like looked at you, you know, a bit of caution. Like, here in the LPL, it kind of feels like we've always had like Ming, Mako, Crisp, and the rest. Lwandy was definitely good, but this game, especially on the Rell, has been such a standout performance for me. Always where he needs to be on the map, finding so many clutch engages. We're going to take it pretty far back for this engage.
It's nice to have you on the right side of history, because you can see here, right, great engage coming through alongside Lwandy and also Tarzan. Now, I want to point out here, watch Beishang. He gets the reset right as that Moonlight Vigil was about to hit. If he got locked up underneath that turret as well, it could have been a very different story. But because he's able to avoid that, he gets the reset on the Irelia, and then we hit this Rift Herald fight as replay fight.
No, it's just a tower. It's just a tower. Don't worry about it.
It's just a tower. But for me here, the thing is W's comp just gets scattered. And when you look at how, again, the champions work, right, you have Ziggs, Azir on one side. They went front to back, to where you have a bunch of bruisers on the opposite side. You love these chaotic skirmishes.
And the thing there, you see it there. Not only was it, oh, I'm going to stop myself. Great there from Missing to just knock everybody back. Tarzan will take a bit of health bar trade for his troubles, but just quickly before we move away from that, Light was untouched. Light went literally no damage in that fight. He was just free-firing at all times, and now 3-1-1 with the Gale Force. He's going to become a monster very soon.
And it goes back to what you asked me earlier, Penguin, about, like, how do you peel for the Aphelios? You don't need to peel for the Aphelios when all of WE's composition needs to be running away from the Irelia, the Zac, and the Sylas.
So much damage, so many clay potential coming out from LNG. WE now down about 3,000, 3,500 gold. They've got fantastic wave clear, so they should be able to keep these turrets up and healthy, but it is starting to feel a little bit bad now for WE. They need to find an opportunity.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a little bit tough, right? I mean, you got Dragon coming up in 30 seconds. Maybe you can try and just trade that for pressure onto the top side, see if you can start to push in these waves, but your team fighting isn't quite there. And as long as LNG aren't fighting you in like close quarters or close like jungle routes and stuff, you're not going to get a huge amount of value off of the mass AoE damage that WE have.
It's also one of those things, right, where with Breathe falling behind, with Missing not really finding opportunities on the map, like, neither of these champions is going to be extremely tanky. So I feel like as LNG, you're going to have a really easy time even just traversing their front line and killing the backline members like Elk and Shanks.
Well, Dragon spawning now in 5 seconds. That's going to be LNG taking that one there. We're not anywhere close to a Dragon Soul just yet. So the rest of WE have said, look, we don't want it. We don't want anything to do with it. We're going to put our 2 top players in the top side. It's going to be the Azir and the Viego trying to get something going for them there while Tarzan solos out this objective.
As we said, right, try and trade it because you don't really want to fight right now, so looking to try and get the top turret, but Ali's TPing back up to defend this, and we've seen him outplay these.
We have seen him outplay this, and with Lwandy coming up as well, this will be a 2v2. Lwandy is here. Now they know he is. Crashed down over the wall to stop him from getting engaged upon, but the Dragon goes down. They defend the turret. Pretty easy there for LNG.
Yeah, LNG making some nice moves. We can see down on the bottom side, Icon picking up a turret for himself. And we just talked about how, you know, late these Dragons are starting to stack up. I hope LNG comes in, you know, with like the RNG, the top esports FPX gumption to be like, yo, let's force some crazy Barons. We have a great turn potential coming out from Zach and Rell. Might be a bit of a 50-50, but I'd love to see some fast play coming out from the side of LNG and not 10 minutes of Dragon stacking.
Yeah, I mean, especially with, as you said, like, you've got the ability to burst this Baron down, great turns, and as well, like, if you can get full vision control, I mean, you can just worry about that.
Yeah, just do this.
Oh, just do this. They're going to pop the Rift Tile down into the mid lane. You cannot defend this as the Ziggs. That turret will fall, exactly what you talked about earlier, making it a lot easier to get that mid lane tier 1 and open up the map a little bit more. Tarzan over the wall, trying to see if he can be a little bit of annoyance with those stretching strikes, but they will land the stun onto him. Uses the elastic slingshot to put himself a nice bit of distance, but you've cracked open the mid lane there for LNG.
Yeah, now we want to see LNG do what WE did last round, right? You're pretty much constantly invading the enemy jungles, steering their camps away. I especially want to see them just continuously keep vision in the top side jungle of WE and try and bait them out, right? Even if you don't start the Baron, just get a bunch of control wards down, make them think you're doing it to pull them out of base, because you are in such a great spot to fight them right now.
You just have to be so careful as LNG though, because if you end up going into, like, say, all these small little corridors are on the top side, right? You get an Emperor's Divide that stops so much of your team from being able to engage. You've got the long range from Shanks and Elk, which can play so well. You can even look to separate out like Tarzan from the rest of the team and try and deal with LNG bit by bit.
Dagda, but this is why you were calling for the Zach. Tarzan walks in first, maybe gets caught out. Actually, LNG is getting caught out.
They're getting caught out. There's the explosive cast. They're going to use the Mega Inferno Bomb, but it doesn't land onto anybody. Look at the TP on the backside of this fight. LNG are just too strong. LNG have too much in favor of them. They are not able to catch out Missing. I lie. He goes down anyway, but it forces a flash out of Icon, and now you can turn for the Baron.
And it all works out, Dagda. It doesn't matter if they get caught because they are just too far ahead. Composition working great, but you look like
4 versus 5, Prather's bot side, all right? I'm putting a little caveat on that one, all right? He could have looked to reset it, but LNG, they will get the Baron.
They will get looked at Baron, but I don't think they're willing to let this one go just straight away. Shanks and Elk will have a lot of poke damage around this, and it will shred their magic resistance as they take damage from the Baron. Down to about 4,000 HP, 2,000 HP. They're still putting down some decent work here, but they will secure it just there. Now WE need to get themselves out. They back themselves away. LNG in full control.
I am really surprised that WE had the confidence to walk up to this Baron. I get it. You have poke, you have range, you can try and dissuade them, but you have 4 champions that can just jump on top of you if you just stay a little too long. It's lucky for them they got away.
Staying a bit too long. Tarzan with the absolutely frame perfect. And now Shanks, after using his flash and his Emperor's Divide, was looking a little bit vulnerable. The rest of WE is there. LNG just going to back themselves. They'll spend all that gold.
I love the way WE were like, we can contest this, and Icon disappears, so like, nah, screw this, we're gone. No interest in this. But I want you can see at the start of this, does get caught out. You end up in a position where, like, the Mega Inferno Bomb misses, Shanks isn't really dealing any damage because Icon's TPing in, and WE just end up so separate.
I feel like it's one of those things, right, where unless WE just give up sides, 5-man group in mid, and then like make a cheeky play in a brush in enemy jungle, you're probably always fine as LNG to just walk in with the champions you have, you know, assuming it is always going to be Lwandy or Tarzan. I don't want to see Light face checking any vision, but now with the Baron, I feel like they're going to have such an easy time. And again, they're just trying to suffocate out WE. the sad thing for them, again, there is pretty good wave clear on the opposite side, so unless LNG are willing to look for a dive or someone missteps on WE, I think it could be hard to break down a lot of the space.
Oh, great little disengage there. Tarzan will take a lot of damage. He has no flash available to him just yet. He will go down in the cell division. No, I lie, he will not. It's actually missing who ends up going down and dying. Shanks gets himself out with the Shurima Shuffle, and they are able to keep themselves alive, but it's a 5v4.
And they can just keep going here, even if Icon stealing away that Viego ult, trying to see if he can push back WE, but they just can't defend these turrets.
And with the Baron as well, it becomes so much harder for the Azir, for the Ziggs. If they're not Baroned up, yes, this is easy for them to do it, but the Baron up minions just make it so hard for AP champions.
I feel like the big scary thing for them is just like the threat of dive coming out, right? Because we saw Tarzan dive beyond that inner turret to start off that engage and allowed them to win. And that will always be a problem, actually, because you're facing a Zac and a Rell. It's really never going to let up.
And then nightmare number 2 is that 20 seconds, you've got that next Infernals Dragon that's going to be on the way. That'll be potentially the 3rd Dragon for LNG. And how do you try and stop LNG when they end up racking up all these Infernal Dragons?
Yeah, and I mean, especially here, right? We see Tarzan using the Elastic Slingshot to come in. WE think they can turn it. Really nice satchel charge coming out from L, but they are just too beefy, too bruiser at this point. And L casts respect. He has to walk back.
Look where Breathe is, right? They keep taking these fights without Breathe, and it means that even when you maybe have a chance, you just make it even harder for yourself.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things, right, where Breathe could be there to try to use the ultimate for disengage, buy more room for Shanks and Elk to play, and it feels like we've clearly gotten to AK Goldie. It's gotten too hard.
It's gotten very, very hard. As you can see there, Emperor's Divide there used, shifting sands. Shanks will get himself out. That's a hard one to say 10 times fast. Yeah. I'm not going to push it forward, but LNG will use that pressure they have on the top side to then use bottom lane pressure, get themselves the Dragon. They are in total control, 9,000 gold. It would take a monumentous throw for the WE to get back into this.
I don't really see much happening here. I think with as Lyric has kind of been pointing out, the amount of engage you have, how far ahead you are, even the defensive items coming through from Icon now, he's already got the Zhonya's, Banshee's Veils next. They're just going to be too tanky to really deal with.
It's one of those things where whenever I go and try and make a point about how W can play it out, you kind of like slowly realize, oh wait, actually LNG can do all those things you're saying. If they can do these things, they win. So it is quite rough for WE. You can't try and like all in on one side. You pretty much just are saying, hey, we're going to wait for you to push into us, hope someone extends a bit too far. But I feel like as long as Tarzan has that cell division especially, that it's just going to be too easy for him to jump in, pretty much eat all of your cooldowns, and then buy time for both Ale and Icon to join the fight.
And the big thing we mentioned there is just the cell division. Tarzan hasn't even gone into it yet. There hasn't even been a threat of him dying so far in this game. He hasn't had to use that passive cooldown just yet because he just hasn't really been that close to dying, which means he's just pushing himself forward, saying, you don't have the damage to kill me. And you can see with the tank stats he had, with the amount of armor, it's all down onto Ziggs and Azir, and their poke's just not doing enough.
And you're just completely shoved into your base here as WE, right? Because you've got this really long range engage from Tarzan. He can pop in from super far away. You don't know exactly where he is. And you can see right now, right, they would love to try and get the ward, but they're just like, we don't know what's the story.
I mean, also looking at the compositions, right, W is triple AP damage to where now for LNG it's been so easy to stack up MR, Banshee's Veil, and Wits End both built on two of the primary carries for the side of LNG. And it just feels like that the damage isn't quite there, especially with the fact that Beishang was set decently far behind early on as well, has also had to build a bit defensively with the Wits End. And I just feel like you don't have enough burst damage to win these extended fights against LNG.
Oh, Shanks. She'll be fine. They are backing up, but LNG again establishing dominance and ward control over this Baron pit.
They're just trying to see if they can find any sort of pick. When you get the resets coming through from LNG, slow the onslaught, but it's just not coming for them. And now LNG, they're all en masse on this top side as you get LA pushing.
Here we go. They're going to try and get him on top of Shanks. He will go golden, but it'll only buy him a little bit of time. Actually goes the opposite way to try and kill off the wave. He will fall 5-1-3 there for Light. You're now 4v5, and Tarzan not done yet. Missing will use the belly buff, but there's nowhere else for him to go. He has to go golden, but only to delay a little bit more time. The crash down comes down on top of him. Ale hunting for blood means they're going to be able to pick up 2 more kills. LNG taking this fight. As I say that, we see their Breathe. 1, 2, not quite able to get 3. Light's just too big and has not been touched. It was a very valiant effort. LNG going to be able to bring themselves to match point.
And it's a confident victory for LNG. They have just taken over from start to finish. Tarzan looking so good in this Zac once more. more. And now it's Elk and a few towers in their way, but it looks like LNG, they're taking it slow once more. They're going to back away.
Yeah, I think with the fact that Shanks will be up in about 6 seconds, not wanting to risk that one. But still, guys, this game looks pretty done and dusted for LNG, an org that has never been to Worlds. Doesn't matter while they were LNG, when they were Snake, going to get themselves one game closer, assuming they don't just continuously run it down. But Dagda, here, this was a bit rough for WE.
I mean, you're just overextended here, Shanks. You get the hop point up the wall. Tarzan, even you can see there, he ends up getting completely tossed back. What do you do?
I mean, the thing is, right, you're overextended when you're right next to your turret when you're up against the back. Really having nowhere he is able to go is, again, action replay.
Replay fight.
Action replay goes straight back in. Tarzan trying to be a nuisance here. Has got the health bar to just keep everyone at bay. And there's Ale right onto the backside of this. Elk will just about survive, but he survives at what cost? He's not going to be able to do anything in this fight. They lose their support, and now LNG can turn straight back and take themselves the Baron.
Yeah, and even for Ale, who's a bit low, even if you want to recall, just TP back in, there should be no way that WE can look for this. No flash on Elk either, so if he walks forward, can be in quite a bit of threat.
Yeah, they're going to have to go look for something, but Icon playing Bouncer, not your night, love. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. They're going to try and jump on top of this. He's stolen the Sett ultimate as Breathe backs himself away down to below a third of HP. And while that was happening, LNG just take the Baron.
And now you got 40 seconds until the Dragon comes up. That Infernal Soul available for LNG. They've got the enhanced recalls. TP for LA into that bottom side as well to get that lane under control. And now you are forced to fight as WE. That's going to be way too much gone the way of LNG if you don't find this fight.
I mean, 12K gold lead. I think you're hoping Ale runs it down right now. Icon then gets on the map. He runs it down himself. Maybe Tarzan joins the party, gets a little bit interesting, but for WE, maybe some kind of crazy casket or crazy bomb. We steal away the dragon, buy a bit of time.
The funny thing is, even if they do get on this fight, which looks like they're not even going to try and contest, they're going to just look like try and clear the waves and survive. Even if in some magical world they were able to get the dragon, they get maybe a couple of kills, it doesn't even do that much for them. LNG are so accelerated, so far ahead, that all it does is, like you said, buy time.
And I think now we're starting to see that LNG have cracked that code we talked about, right? Getting Shanks
Aphelios.
off of the... Yes. No, but getting... Actually...
Oh, I'm going to see a little bit of an engage here. There is the explosive cast, but missing is dead. He is gone back to the grey screen. Elk cannot get into here, but you can see now Shanks putting out some decent damage. Does go golden to try and keep himself alive, but the rest of LNG are there. There's nothing you can do. WE will lose. They will trade 5 for 1. It is match point for LNG for the final world spot.
And this is immaculate for LNG, an organization that has not been to Worlds before. For Tarzan to reunite with loved ones, they are one game away.
Yeah, for LNG, again, seeing people like Tarzan, people like Icon, people who have been playing for quite a while, be able to get back to the world stage, even all the newcomers on the side, Lwandy, Light, be able to get there for the first time would be fantastic. They still have one more game. WE can bring it back like they did in Game 2.
But it is one loss away now for WE. There are no more mistakes. You cannot lose another game, or all of your hopes and dreams from this season are dashed.
You can see the difference though, when Shanks isn't on these like Twisted Fates, the rises, these things that can have a big impact when roaming around the map, and it's not looking as clean for them, right? Tarzan coming out being clutch once more for LNG, kind of is stopping all these winning matchups for them when it came to the solo lanes, and there's just nothing left for WE.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of those champions, right, the rises of TF, even things like Syndra, which it is more about your isolated laning phase, but you just can win so heavily with jungle you can move, is a bit of a band-aid for the fact that I wouldn't even say Missing doesn't move. Missing just kind of always shows up a bit later than Lwandy. Lwandy's timings are so good. A lot of that also does come from the fact that LNG are just winning in the 2v2.
Yeah.
But it feels like that is where a lot of the difference we're seeing so far in the series is coming from.
And I think the big thing as well is, you mentioned obviously not on this Twisted Fate. It's not as if these things were banned. It's not as if his champion pool in this particular game was pinched. He opted for that early Azir pick. He said, no, I'm happy going into any real matchup that Icon can throw at me. And the Sylas coming in and just being able to basically keep him in a box. He never got to roam around. He never got to have an impact.
I think the two big ones, more so than just the Sylas in the mid lane, were the Zac and the Rell, right? Like, being able to just roam around, make sure that you're one impacting topside, and like, playing second jungler, right? The amount of times Lwandy was topside and Breathe was like, cool, I can make this play, and Lwandy's like, no, sorry, we're the ones getting the kill. Ale got huge on this. Irelia 1v2ing in that topside. Basically, all the options for WE were very methodically taken off the board.
I'm just saying, guys, Tarzan is like the most Chad Zach player
That is very true.
We've been spending a lot of time with Ender over the past week. Anytime Tarzan makes a sick play, I just hear Ender in my head going, sheesh! You know, so.
No shot!
I think we're having a little bit of loopiness coming in today, but I completely agree with you. I think the Zach we've seen it multiple times for LNG, is a pocket pick that just has so much agency, has so many ways of getting involved in those lanes when it's not pressured, and I feel like it is just a perfect opportunity there for LNG to say, we are pretty confident that this Viego is going to be going into the jungle. We know we can get those time and those levels.
And that's the thing with Tarzan, right? He's happy to fall behind in this Zach early, where he's like, look, I'm going to get my lanes ahead, and then when we've actually taken down a couple of these towers, I'm going to farm your camps while also pressuring your lanes because I can just leap in from that far away.
And we'll see what WE have in store. Of LNG will be saying "Shee!" all the way to the Nexus in Game 4. We're going to send it over to the Analyst S, but first we're going to have a break to break down